Project South grows social movements to eliminate poverty and genocide. We educate, connect, and organize. Sometimes that means direct action on the front lines. Sometimes it means supporting aligned organizations and communities to do their work. And it always means working with our communities, partners, and members to build movement leadership and power from the bottom up. Project South has expanded and evolved to meet the historical moment since a group of Southern movement organizers and activists founded Project South in 1986.
Gwen Patton, Walda Katz-Fishman, Teresa Scott. I was there. Rita, definitely part of the whole beginning. And then we expanded from there. In 1985, 86, there was this big struggle in the West Alabama Black Belt around black folks voting. There had been this big investigation of so-called voter fraud. Organizations around the Black Belt of West Alabama called out for people to come to West Alabama to support the I'll Vote On campaign. You know, to try to make sure that these investigations didn't prevent particularly African Americans from continuing to vote at high levels in West Belt, Alabama. And it was at those meetings that the idea of starting Project South developed. So that was June of 1986.
It's a big mobilization. We're doing voter registration and getting people out to vote for the first time for black elected officials in the Alabama Black Belt since the defeat of Reconstruction.
From being in West Alabama Black Belt for those demonstrations and mobilizations, we had learned that there was a lot of people who came to those demonstrations and mobilizations that didn't really have a grasp on Southern history and the role that the South played really not only in the civil rights movement, but the formation of this whole country.
Driven by a wider lack of understanding about the legacy of white supremacy and struggle, and the South's historic role in leading national policy and societal changes, the founding group pushed Project South to be known as a popular educator, producing toolkits, curriculum, and building a movement workshops as critical infrastructure for social movements.
That we were a popular education organization that was creating publications. I mean, that word really helped our reputation. It spread throughout the country through the material that our public education system provides to you to figure out what the South is and what people did historically. You would find very little. So people's information about the role that the South played is very limited. We began to bring up the critical history of the South and the fact that this resistance that we all saw during the civil rights movement was not new. It is the anchor of resistance that goes through this entire country. The ruling class knows that if the general population gets enough understanding of what happened in the South and why the South still leads the resistance in this country, that it will be a mobilizing force. And therefore they don't want to teach it or talk about it or have you understand it.
I mean, the South provides a real living history of struggle as well as hope and opportunity, you know, to transform this society. Because if it don't happen here, it's not gonna make a difference in the rest of the country. Project South has grown and spread, and I think it's deepened and expanded, but I think the roots of that popular political education are still there. Coming into this building, I remember the old buildings that we used to have on Washington and then at Georgia Hill. You know, now there's a larger staff and a bigger reach that's also being developed.
Rooted in the Black radical tradition, grounded by grassroots community power, and led by Fannie Lou Hamer's insistent philosophy that nobody's free until everybody's free. Project South has seen many seasons and milestones, from gathering thousands for movement building at the U.S. Social Forum in Atlanta to nurturing youth leadership through political education that have helped us to adapt to the ever-changing needs of our people.
In 1989, there was this meeting in Philadelphia of the Up and Out of Poverty Now campaign. We came back and hooked up with the Hunger Coalition, because they had sent representatives to that and began to really build Project South around this Up and Out of Poverty campaign as the political education apparatus of the campaign. We just established ourselves as the organization from 86 to 91. And we actually incorporated with our first board in 91 while we were getting ready to hold our first major conference of Project South, and that was the 500 Years of Resistance Conference.
Even then, we were very engaged with trying to always recognize and engage where possible indigenous people, native people. We had representation from Hawaii,
Right.
A number of other places.
Number of tribes on the West Coast. Youth has been involved with Project South almost from the very beginning. Looking at the involvement of youth in today's Project South, it's just, that's a happy feeling. That's the thing that if we don't concentrate on youth, I think that diminishes our chance of any kind of fundamental victory in this country. Every transformation, every major progressive transformation that has taken place, not only in this country but around the world, involves the youth. If they're not in the leadership, they're the backbone of it. And mostly they're the backbone and the leadership. The fundamental victory in this country is a transformation of capitalism. To get to understand and transform capitalism. And you can't do that without the youth. You got to have the youth.
And it's great to be here. It's still, I think, certainly for me, part of my political home. Without doubt.